Welcome back. The House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Special Duties to investigate the omission of some persons in the resettlement of displaced people of the disputed Bakassi Peninsula. This resolution was reached following a debate on the motion presented to review the report of the Presidential Committee on the Resettlement of Displaced People. In the ensuing debate, most lawmakers supported the position presented, agreeing that it would not be right to implement the reports and leave out the Aboriginal inhabitants of the peninsula.
The issue came up as a matter of urgent national importance. It was on the need to review the report of the Presidential Committee on the Resettlement of Displaced Persons from the Bakassi Peninsula. The report is due to be implemented in the 2014 budget.
Peoples from Ijaw origin, Ibibios, the Obolos, the Lajes, the Eket people, the Okobo people, and the Igbo traders who resided in Bakassi Peninsula. The House knows that the peoples identified above constitute the majority of people displaced by the ceding of Bakassi Peninsula to the Republic of Cameroon.
The lawmaker called on the Minister of Justice to take legal action against the Republic of Cameroon for breaches of human rights laws relating to the unfair treatment of some of these Nigerians. Other lawmakers also contributed to the motion.
We must start the process of domesticating Bakassi Treaty. Unless this is done, we will just be moving we will just be doing everything, and it will just be a motion without movement.
The appropriate thing, in my own opinion, to do now is to call on the House relevant committee to now invite the Presidential Committee and investigate this issue, which is very fundamental, that certain citizens have been deprived of certain privileges which they ought to gain from the government.
So it will be necessary for this Honorable House to support this motion, ably moved by Honorable Uwak, to compel the Presidential Committee to really do the needful.
The motion was then amended and passed.
Those in support of the motion as amended should please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it.
A House committee has been mandated to investigate the matter and the omission of these people. The committee is to submit its findings to the House within 4 weeks. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
As I said,
unveiling the new look of Guinness. Discover a colorful world of more.
Well, Ayotunde Balogun joins us now with sports news.
That's right. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has revealed the prize money for the 2014 African Nations Championship ahead of this weekend's knockout phase of the biennial tournament. Now, the winner of the championship currently underway in South Africa will earn $750,000. Runners-up will receive $400,000, while the third and fourth place finishers will earn $250,000 each. Teams that crash out of the quarterfinal stage will receive $175,000 each. The 2013-2014 Nigeria National League bill to begin this weekend has been moved to February the 15th. Secretary of the Nigeria National League, Lawrence Katkin, told Channels Television that the postponement was necessary because certain issues regarding the indemnities of match officials had to be resolved first. Katkin said the league body is trying to avoid the manipulations and malpractices that characterized the past season, where participating clubs pay the allowances of referees. A foreign betting syndicate's approach to Indian clubs to fix league matches last season has prompted the country's football federation to take the first step towards setting up an anti-corruption unit. The All India Football Federation Vice President Subrata Dutta said it is important for India to work with FIFA and Interpol as the country's football profile continues to grow. Explaining how the syndicate operates, the chairman of Interpol, the Interpol Integrity, that is, in Sports Steering Group, John Abbott, says that many match-fixing claims are international in nature.
I feel what
And so tennis, Stanislas Wawrinka made his first Grand Slam final at the Australian Open with a 6-3, 6-7, 7-6, 7-6 semi-final win over Thomas Berdych. After closing out an accomplished first set, Wawrinka dropped the second in the tie-break, dominated by Berdych, but the Swiss number 2 was in much better form when the next pair of sets also went the distance. The win not only sets a landmark for Wawrinka, but increases the possibility of an all-Switzerland final between him and Roger Federer, who takes on Rafa Nadal in the second semi-final on Friday. And finally, Slovakia's Dominika Sibulkova was almost lost for words after she became the first Slovakian woman to reach a Grand Slam final, beating 5th seed Agnieszka Radwanska 6-1, 6-2 at the Australian Open. So Slovakia needed just 70 minutes to see out the world number 5, recording her 4th successive victory over her highest-seeded opponent at Melbourne Park. The usually chatty 24-year-old will play China's Li Na in the final on Saturday at Melbourne Park.
Had so many thoughts in my head, but I was just focusing on the game, and the most important game was, I think, when I won my serve on 5-2, and then I knew I was going to do it.
Everyone, put your hands together for the Dominika Sibulkova.
Well, that's it on Sports News. I'm Archie. We'll be back with the rest of the news at 10.
Unveiling the new look of Guinness. Discover a colorful world of more.
But it seems as though there could be a light at the end of the tunnel in South Sudan, as mediators say the government and rebels are preparing to sign a ceasefire sooner than later. The talks have been deadlocked over the issue of 11 political detainees whom the rebels want to be freed before discussing a ceasefire. Cynthia Ara has more on that and other stories.
Hopefully things will go as planned. In the past week, government forces have recaptured the 2 main cities under rebel control. More than 500,000 people have been forced from their homes during the month-long conflict. What started out as a political dispute between President Salva Kiir and his former deputy, Riek Machar, on the 15th of December has escalated into full-scale conflict. Speaking of steps toward peace, Ukrainian opposition leaders are due to meet President Viktor Yanukovych a day after the first deaths in protests that have gripped Kiev in 2 months. One of them, former boxer Vitaly Klitschko, has said he will lead pro-EU protesters on the attack if quick elections are not called. Also today, more than 30 Rohingya Muslims were killed in attacks by Buddhists last week in Burma's Rakhine state. 2 international officials said they found evidence of mass killing. Human rights group Fortify Rights claims a series of attacks took place over 5 days last week. The government and local officials have strongly denied claims of a massacre. Then at least 3 people have died and 13 more are reported missing after a fire tore through an old people's home in Quebec. The building, which was home to about 50 to 60 people, was completely destroyed, and at least 9 people were seriously injured. Finally, former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi is to be investigated for alleged witness tampering in an underage prostitution trial. He and his lawyers are accused of meeting the female witness to discuss the evidence they would give. Berlusconi was convicted last year of paying for sex with an underage prostitute. And that's it for me. Those are the top stories on the foreign scene.
And the main news again. The SS has warned politicians against making provocative statements ahead of the 2015 general elections. And the All Progressives Congress has directed its lawmakers to block all executive bills, including the 2014 appropriation bill. At the ongoing World Economic Forum, President Goodluck Jonathan has explained why Nigeria is the ideal investment destination, especially in the automobile industry. and hope has heightened for resolution of the unrest in Ukraine as the opposition and government have agreed to meet. That's it on the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Amarachi Ubani. Good night.